Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Drux Milan Unboxing. I'm sitting here in my hotel room at Emperor's Palace. We've got a huge weekend of boxing all the time. Not only here in South Africa, international. We've got Teofimo Lopez and Terence Crawford in action. Last night we had ESPN in Africa's 12th show of the year. They have to be commended for that. Emma Colombo rolls on and DJ Creel's back. But tonight at Emperor's Palace at 7 o'clock on SuperSport, we've got Crackerjack. That's what the show is entitled. Don't ask me what channel. Just look on your remote button. There's a menu. You'll see what channel it is on there. But tonight, 7 o'clock, tune into SuperSport because I think it's going to be a good one. Now, in boxing, second chances do not always happen, and third chances are a rare thing. But Akani Prime Phuzi, the cruiserweight, is getting just that when he gets a third shot at the veteran Johnny Muller, a chance to avenge his only 2 losses. Now, in their first fight, Johnny gave then undefeated Phuzi a boxing lesson. The second fight was closer, but this time, Akani Phuzi just didn't throw enough punches and Johnny simply outworked him and won again. Now, this is make or break for Akani Phuzi. If you're going to go on to international level and do something there, you've got to get past Johnny Muller, and Johnny Muller is tough, as we all know. He gave Kevin Lorena lots of problems back then, and it's not easy to beat him, but if you're going to go international, you've got to beat him. If Akani Phuzi can't beat him now, there's not really much sense of him going on, unless he's happy to just be sort of a local fighter, which I suspect he is not. So can Akani Phuzi do it third time lucky? Now, Larry Holmes used to say, even a blind squirrel will find an acorn sometimes. Now, I'm not insulting Akani. I'm not saying he's a blind squirrel. But what Larry meant was, if you out there squirreling long enough, eventually you're going to find that acorn. And Akani has had a lot of rounds of Johnny Muller now. And I think he is a guy with talent. He had a good amateur career. He's a talented fighter. So I think now, by the third fight, Akani Phuzi should have figured out Johnny Muller. Now, Muller sometimes he's not in great shape. He's sometimes disinterested, especially if he fights at heavyweight. But I saw him at the weigh-in. He looks in shape. He weighed a good 90 kilograms. He's definitely trained for this fight. He's definitely in shape. So Akani Phuzi is not going to have it easy. And he's under new trainer Damian Durant now. And in his fight with Damian Durant that he's had so far against Levo Mashitwa, Akani looked great. He was aggressive. He went for it and he blew Levo away. But also Levo had a lot of personal problems and things going on outside the ring, so maybe there's an asterisk there. Maybe it flattered Akani Phuzi, maybe Levo's head just wasn't in the game. But nonetheless, it was an impressive victory, and to get over the hill here against Johnny Muller, he's going to need to up his work rate, he's going to need to let his hands go, he mustn't be intimidated, and he's got to go for it against Johnny Muller, and he can't let himself be outworked and out-hustled again. And can he do it? I think this time Akani Phuzi is talented enough to have learned. I think it's going to be tough because Johnny is fit, but I think Akani Phuzi is going to pull it off by decision this time around. We'll see. It's an interesting fight. Then we have Knapp, the guy we all like because it's all action Jackson with Rourke. He's just coming off a fight of a year war against Brandon Thysse, a rematch that he won by split decision. And he is taking on a Mexican by the name of Jardon. Now, Jardon's got a record of 35 wins and he's got 25 knockouts in those wins. So he can punch, the guy can crack. But on the flip side, he's got 8 losses and 5 of those were by way of knockout. Now, so that shows you the good and bad. Jardon can crack, but he can also be knocked out himself. Now, he's got good momentum. He went to the UK and he upset the unbeaten prospect Anthony Tomlinson. He knocked him out. Then he dropped a decision in Russia. And then in his last fight in June in Canada, he upset the local East Bloc fighter, but Canadian-based Artem Oganesyan, and he beat him on points to win the NABF junior middleweight title. He's the reigning NABF junior middleweight champion, and that's a good regional belt to have. In America, you have USBA and NABF belts. Those are regional titles there that carry some clout, just like you have the EBU European title in Europe and perhaps a Commonwealth title. It's a regional belt that carries some quality and some clout. So it's not a fight that Rourke can take lightly. Now, at the weigh-in, I was sitting next to ML Bryce, trainer, of Ndombassy, and when Jardon walked to the scale, he says the guy's got no balance. And funnily enough, I watched footage of Jardon, and he does have a sort of a weird wobble. He doesn't have the greatest balance, and I think part of Jardon's thing is he makes you go into a sense of false complacency because he looks very beatable. His hands are down, his defense is not great. He picks up his chin sometimes when he throws. He makes a lot of things that you shouldn't do there in the ring, and he takes a lot of shots and so on. So he looks very easy because he's got this funny sort of style, but he doesn't swarm all over you throwing punches Mexican style. He sort of hangs back and he waits for his shots. And as the fight goes on, he gets more and more into it. He sort of fights himself loose, and then he throws these unorthodox looping hooks, uppercuts, and a looping sort of a bowler right like that. And when he tags you with those, he hurts you. And the thing with Jardon is he's also been stopped, and it seems to me he's vulnerable early because it takes a while to get into it, and as he gets into it, the hands come up a little bit, and then he starts throwing. And he can be hit, he can be stopped. And there's one thing you can do with a puncher is you can take him out before he takes you out if you're not going to outbox him, which is a long haul always. So I would say Knapp needs to jump on him early, but he's got to do it in a smart way. He's got to keep his technique tight. He's got to throw 3 shots down the pipe and change his levels all the time, because Jardon does this. He's like a windmill, and then step around him. He's got to do it tightly, because he can get in trouble in this fight in the same way he can get in trouble, like he got in trouble against Cristiano and Ndombassy, if he's not careful. So I would say, in an intelligent, tight technique way, jump on Jardon early before he gets warmed up, and see if you can take him out at that stage before he becomes a danger. If that doesn't work, just box, box, box until you get the Mexican to tire out, and then you can go for a stoppage. But what you must not do with Dante Jardon, you mustn't stand in front of him in exchange, because you hit him easily, so you think one more shot and I'm knocking him out in the exchange, and that's when Jardon hits you back. That's how he stopped Tomlinson, and that's the thing that Rock must guard against, just slugging it out with Jardon. He's got to be smart in the way he approaches this fight. But I think Rock has learned. He stayed on his game plan there in the Thysse fight, the rematch against Brandon Thysse. He went through a rough patch early where he was hurt, and then he started boxing in and out. So I would say go for it early and then box. And be smart about it. Keep everything tight and don't get complacent against Jardon. And I think Rock will do that. So it's a good fight that should keep people on the edge of their seats, because the Mexican is dangerous. But I think Knapp wins that fight in 6 to 8 rounds or so. I think Rock is going to win that fight on a stoppage. And then we've got what I think is the most interesting fight of the evening. That's Brandon Thysse, and he is taking on Cape Town-based Angolan warrior 5 Cristiano Ndombassy. Now, if you're from Cape Town, you know Ndombassy is a fixture there. He knocked Knapp into another blood group in their fight, and the referee, we all know, messed up with a 3 knockdown rule, and Rock, to his career, had the heart attack in there and came back. But Cristiano, it's quite clear what his pros and cons are. He's a guy that I know well. When I did my first commentating gig back on Kwese TV with Ade Oladipo, who's on the zone now, it was Cristiano in the main event against Johannes Sali, and that was a slugfest, and he won. And if you slug it out with Cristiano, you better make sure you hit him with something that knocks him out, like Franz Ramabolo. But because Cristiano is explosive and the guy can crack. And what I see from Cristiano at the weigh-in, he came into the Knapp fight on a week's notice. He had a full training camp behind him for the Brandon Thysse fight. He knows what this means to him. Cristiano's personality is different. Usually he's a sort of a friendly, gregarious kind of jocular guy. He's got his earphones on, he's tense, he's grumpy, he doesn't really want to speak to anybody. His personality is much different than what I know him, which tells me he's really dialed in. That can be a pro or con. He can leave all his energy outside the ring, emotional energy. Or, excuse me, if you have a big nose, it itches. Or he can channel it into a fight. So I think Cristiano Ndombassy is a very, very live underdog. He can't outbox Brandon Thysse. Thysse has got a quicker feet, quicker hands, a better overall boxing skills. but he's got the power, he's got the explosiveness. So Cristiano needs to go after him. He needs to go after him intelligently. He can't just walk after him and look for big shots. He's got a jab to the chest when he can't reach his head, hit the body. He's got to slow Brandon Thysse down. He's got to frustrate him. He's got to make him angry. He's got to make him overconfident perhaps. He's got to make Brandon Thysse leave a game plan and start hot dogging and slugging it out of Cristiano, because that's where Cristiano and Ndombassy's window of opportunity lies. And as for Brandon Thysse, I'm a big Brandon Thysse fan also, and I think he's a much improved fighter. He's grown into a very solid boxer. I think in the Knapp fight, he jumped between strategies. You know, he went after Rock and then he became boxer, and then he went after Rock again. He couldn't quite decide what he was going to be in that fight. And against Ndombassy, he mustn't do that. He's got to box, use that jab, stay on his feet, hit the body, use the jab, hit the body, keep Ndombassy from settling, throw an uppercut in close and get out of there or hold, but he mustn't stand there and slug it out in front of Cristiano and Ndombassy. Then maybe it works out for him, but then that's the danger. That's also can give Ndombassy the fight on the plate. So Brandon Thysse needs to stay on his game, and he needs to box, and he needs to box a disciplined fight here. He mustn't try and think he wants to put in a performance that one-ups Rock's performance against Ndombassy. Mustn't go and try and do that, because then he might find himself looking at the lights. He's got to stay disciplined. So it's a classical boxer versus puncher matchup, although Brandon Thysse can hit as well. And I think Cristiano Ndombassy is a very live underdog in this fight. As I've said, the guy's dialed in. But if I have to pick a guy, I always tend to slightly favour the clever boxer above a pure puncher. I'm thinking Damian Durant is going to keep Brandon on the game plan here. So I'm going to go for Brandon Thysse to go through the rough moments with a chasing Ndombassy and win this one on points. But it wouldn't surprise me if Cristiano pulls an upset. But if pushed forward for a prediction, I'm going with Thysse on points here. Now, after we've done tonight, it's not all. Remember, tomorrow, I think 1:30 or 2 o'clock, check on your TV menu. Supersport will be back from Emperor's Palace. We've got more what's known as a development show here in South Africa, a couple of undefeated prospects plying their trades, and two once hot prospects, Pikalani Kumalo. He is facing Jackson Kaptein, a dangerous opponent. He is one fight of coming off a knockout loss. We'll see if he can regain some of his luster. And then, of course, a popular Rowan Braveheart Campbell. He's coming off 2 losses against, of course, Reiner Liebenberg. And then he fought a South African light heavyweight champion in his last fight. And he got beaten there. So he's coming off 2 losses, I think, against Bongani and Mwelase. And he has got to get back in the win column, and he's fighting Tembani and Mhlanga. So let's see if Rowan Campbell can shake off the dust and get back in the W. And then in the main event, of course, for heavyweights, South African heavyweight champion Chris the Wolf Thompson takes on the Hulk Keaton Gomes. Now, I've been wrong with the South African heavyweight title now for a couple of times in a row. The last time when I got it right was when I picked Jean Roux to beat Tian Phuc. But from then on, as the title just changed hands, it was sort of a revolving door, like the WBA world title in the 80s. I've been wrong each time, so maybe you must go the opposite way of what I'm saying. I'm just thinking Chris Thompson, since he lost to Akani Phuzi many years ago, he's morphed himself into a very slick southpaw, awkward boxer. He boxed a masterpiece against Josh Pretorius. If you're going to box off a back foot, that's how you got to do it. He uses that southpaw jab to good effect, pot shots of a straight left from a southpaw stance, throws his shots, and he circles again, and he gets back on his bicycle. And against Keaton Gomes, that's just exactly what he needs to do. Now, Gomes is younger, he's more explosive, maybe it's harder than Josh, but he hasn't got the experience of Josh. And he's got 2 knockout wins now. But you don't learn much in those kind of wins. Before that, he had back-to-back points losses to Level Mashitwa. And it was clear there, Keaton can't handle movement, and he doesn't know how to cut off a ring. And he sort of deflates and becomes less dangerous as the rounds go by. So I'm interested to see whether Keaton Gomes has learned how to cut off the ring, because he's going to need it against Chris Thompson. that's maybe not the guy you want to learn that against. So I'm just thinking Chris Thompson is the wrong style for Keaton Gomes. If Gomes can trap Thompson on the ropes or in a corner and fly at him, he can knock him out. He's got that kind of power, and that's his chance in the fight. But I think Chris Thompson is going to tie him up, and he's going to box. So I think Chris Thompson is going to win a clear points decision on Sunday in the South African heavyweight title fight. But as I say, I haven't had good luck with the South African heavyweight title fights as of late. So tune in, maybe Keaton Gomes springs that upset and scores a knockout win for Team Smith. But that's why they fight the fights. So guys, if you've watched this far, please tell me in the comment section, who do you think wins these fights? Does Akani Phuzi finally get over the hill against Johnny Muller? Does Knapp get past the NABF champion Dante Jardon? Does Brandon Thysse outbox and outfight Cristiano and Ndombassy? Or is it Cristiano's moment, and is he going to score his biggest win yet, knock out Brandon Thysse? And how do you see the South African heavyweight title fight going? So please give our channel a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you haven't. I would greatly appreciate it. And until I see you again, remember to keep those hands up.